Salvete, viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Phaedrus' Fables. I'm taking a not too small, but not a ton, selection of fables from Phaedrus. The original Latin I'm translating into English. Not not into poetry like it kind of should be, because the original Latin is in verse. It is in iambic hexameter. But I'm terrible with Latin poetry and scanning for the meter, and so I'm just treating it like prose. Here's a list of all of the fables that I have and will translate through, and discuss a little bit about context, and discuss a little bit about their content. Today, we have a bit of an odd one. Like, it feels odd, but it's almost only because of the last line. I also chose this one because it's somewhat related to a future video I will do that's not related to Phaedrus or the Romans really in general, other than it's Latin. But anyway, let's get started. Apes et fuci, vespa judice. The bees and the drones, with the wasp as judge. It's interesting that the wasp is a judge, considering that's the most aggressive one of these. But anyways, apes in alta, technically there, fecerant favos. So apes. Apes is the plural of apis, which means bee. So bees, bees, or the bees. And of course, the nominative plural, so it's our subject. In, it means in or on, or into or onto, depending on what case it's using. And alta can only be ablative. Well, it could be nominative, but it's not. So it means in. Alta is the ablative feminine form from altus, adjective meaning high. Oh, high. Oh, not hue, high. Oh, wait, I didn't mark. Ah, there we go. There we go. Fecerant. It is from facio, so to make. And I believe it is pluperfect. Of course, third person singular, active. Yes, it is pluperfect. So, had made. Quercu is from quercus, which is a noun meaning an oak tree. And of course, it is ablative. Quercus is feminine, so alta is agreeing in gender, number, and case with quercu. So oak. And favos is the accusative plural form from favos, which means a honeycomb. So honeycombs. The bees had made honeycombs in a high oak tree. In a high oak tree, on a high oak tree. I think on. Built a hive in the tree. No, it's in. Yeah, it's in. Hos fuci inertes esse dicebant suos. Yeah. Hos, accusative plural form from hic, hike, hoc, which is a pronoun meaning this. So really it's these, since it's plural. But of course it's the object, so we're going to fix the word order once we're done with each word. Fuci is from fucus, which, as you can probably tell from the title, means drone. Basically like a male bee. So these drones, well, not these drones, but these drones, inertes, an adjective from iners. We get the word inert from this, as you could probably see just right there. So it could be like useless, or we could just say inert. But here, the story kind of kind of depicts them more lazy. So these drones, lazy, and of course gender, number, and case, they agree with Fuki. Esse is the infinitive form from sum, so to be. Dicebant is from dico dicere. Imperfect from the ba, third person plural from the nt, also active. So we're saying, and suos. Oh no, I shouldn't have done that, because suos is the accusative plural from the pronoun suus, which means his, hers, or theirs. So theirs. So the lazy drones were saying hos, these, esse, were, or are, suos, theirs. So we've got our two sides. The bees, who are productive and actually do things, and the drones, who don't and just take credit for other people's work. Lis ad forum deducta est, vespa judice. So lis. Lis is just the nominative singular form, and it means a lawsuit. At least, that is one of the things that it can mean. It can also just generally mean, like, contention or strife. But here, it's just a straight-up lawsuit. The Romans had lawsuits, too. Well, I guess a lawsuit. Ad forum. Ad being a preposition that takes the accusative. And it means to, or it can be at. Let's say at for this. And forum, it's the Roman forum. Maybe not, well, not the forum, but at least like a forum, an open space that could be serve as a marketplace, or even just for other civil things like trials and lawsuits. So at the forum, deducta est. So deducta is a perfect passive participle formed from deduco, which means to lead or bring out, bring forth, or even like bring to trial. And since we are using legal terms with lis, as well as later sententia and judice, let's was brought to trial vespa judice. Vespa means wasp, and so vespa could either be the nominative or ablative, with it being a first declension noun. So it is ablative here with the wasp judice. It is from judex. Judex just means judge. It's not an adjective, but with two nouns together, same case, you can just kind of assume it's like this as that. So with the wasp as judge. So the bees and the drones bring forth a lawsuit, and the wasp acts as judge. Quae genus utrumque noset cum pulcherrime legem duabus hanc proposuit partibus. So this is another place where the word order can really mess with you. I am assuming the word order is kind of weird because it's poetry. Again, I'm not scanning this. I would do a terrible job. But I at least already know what the word order should be. So, quae. Quae is from the relative pronoun qui. So, who, and it's feminine, and I think quae is nominative. It at least can be nominative. What other cases can it be? It could be singular or plural, or it could be nominative or accusative neuter plural. But there's no real neuter subject here. It's the wasp. So let's say nominative singular feminine for quae, who genus. Genus is just a kind, like a kind, or literally like the birth or origin. But I think I'm gonna go with class, because it can also be class, for kind, type, class. Mainly because Apes et Fuki, they're kind of two different classes in hive society, as well as I'm not a law expert. Isn't it like there's a class action lawsuit? That's a thing. I don't think it really applies here, but I still think it's fun wordplay, so the class for genus. Utrumque is another pronoun, but it means both. It's from uterque, which this could either be nominative neuter singular or accusative singular for the masculine or neuter. And genus is neuter, so, and nominative neuter singular. Noset, third person singular, it's pluperfect, active, and it is subjunctive from the verb nosco. Nosco means to learn or become aware of. So let's say, oh wait, both. Let's say had learned cum, or, no, let's say had become acquainted with. It's not going to look like, it'll still use the accusative. Wait a second. I think I marked things wrong. Because genus is a weird third declension. So hold on. I marked it wrong. Because genus is not the subject. It is actually the object. Because genus is not second declension. I just realized that because I was like, wait a second. Kind is not the subject of noset. It can't be the subject of noset. Quae is already the subject. It's already the nominative. So, yeah. Genus is the object in the accusative, because genus could be both the nominative or accusative form, at least singular. Cum can be either a preposition, taking the ablative, or a conjunction. Usually the conjunction uses the subjunctive mood with the verb, which noset is subjunctive. So cum, when it's a conjunction, means when. Pulcherrime is a superlative ablative. It's kind of like it's technically the ablative form of the superlative pulcherrimus, but sometimes the ablative forms of adjectives can just be adverbs. So pulcher is like beautiful or pretty. Pulcherrimus is the most beautiful, the most pretty, but it can also mean right or correct. So like most rightly. And to put that into better word order, who, when it had become acquainted with both classes, most rightly, correctly. Oh, also, I was wrong. Apparently, I was wrong with that. It's not the ablative form. It's the vocative form of pulcherrimus. But, so a lot of the time, it does kind of, at least, it coincidentally happens like that, I guess, where the ablative, for second declension nouns at least, does end in E. And so a lot of the time, it'll look like the ablative becomes an adverb. But not always, I suppose, especially with, adjectives like pulcher, which are a bit different. So pulcre is the adverb, and pulcherrime is the superlative form of the adverb. I'm going to do just rightly, because rightly as in like just or just being correct. Legem is from lex. It is the accusative singular. Lex is a law. Oh, law. Duabus, that is the dative or ablative plural from duo, which means two. So let's say, I know it's dative, to two. Hunc, this is the accusative singular form of hos, except also it is feminine rather than masculine here. So this proposuit, actually I guess I should do really like that. Proposuit, you might be able to guess, like propose. It's from propono, third person singular perfect active indicative. So it could be set forth, lay out, make known, propose. Let's say proposed. And partibus is from pars, dative or ablative plural, matching in gender, number, and case with duabus. And it could be parts or parties. So it's proposed, proposuit, hunc, this, legem, law, duabus, to, I guess it could be both as well, partibus, parties. Non inconveniens corpus, et par est color. Honestly, I don't know how I actually should mark this, because of course et is conjunction, est is the verb. Because it's just the nominative and predicate nominative. I mean, technically these are adjectives, but it's not quite working as normal. So, non, not, inconveniens. We of course get inconvenient from this adjective, but it means unsuitable or here, dissimilar. Corpus, it means body. Et is and. Par is an adjective meaning, equal or similar. Like, let's say similar. Est is, third person singular present active indicative from sum. And color is just color. Because, the American spelling is the correct spelling. So, the body, because we're going to be using the est basically for both parts of the sentence that's connected by et. So the body is not, well, because he's talking about the honeycomb. Is there a better way to say it than body? I guess the material? Yeah, actually, let's say the material. The material is not dissimilar. Thanks for the double negative, bud. And the color is, I guess I'll just say the same, just to not sound repetitive. So, I guess both parties brought something? I don't know how exactly that worked if the drones really couldn't make the honeycomb themselves, or at least wouldn't. Maybe they got part of it, but I guess each side presented something that was similar, or maybe it isn't the material, maybe it is the body, because there is a version of this fable in Fontaine's Fables, La Fontaine. And in that version, it goes into more detail, where the witnesses could only see like striped insect bodies working on the honeycomb.
So maybe Phaedrus just left out that little detail, even though that would make this make more sense. Because he's not describing the honeycomb, he's describing the bees and the drones. Phaedrus, why would you leave that little detail out? Because yeah, the witness statement would make this make more sense and not confuse me until right this moment. Indubium plane res ut merito veneret. Okay, merito is an adverb. So, in, we already saw, in or on, but we have dubium, which is in the accusative. So it is into, and dubium is a noun, second declension neuter noun. So this could be the nominative, but it's the accusative because it's working with the prepositional phrase. And it means, if it was an adjective, I'm sure it would mean dubious, but here it is doubt. So into doubt. Plane is an adverb meaning plainly or clearly. Res is a noun, feminine, that can mean a thing or really a matter, like the matter at hand. Ut, conjunction that is fairly common, but I never remember. Well, actually, I guess I am remembering now what the two main ways to translate it are. It's either, depends on whether it is with the indicative or the subjunctive. And veneret is the subjunctive. It is third person singular perfect active subjunctive. So, ut should be so that for purpose. Merito is an adverb, which I believe means rightly or deservedly, appropriately. Yeah, rightly. Let's say rightly. Well, no, we already used rightly for really pulcherrime. So let's do reasonably. And veneret, we already said, third person singular perfect active indicative from venio. So comes came. And again, so much word order that needs to be fixed for English speakers. So like plainly the matter. Oh no. I think the ut has to come first, so that, because it's continuing from the previous line, so that the matter, like, honestly, I feel like plane and merito are kind of doing the same thing. I almost want to just say quite rightly for the both of them, or quite reasonably. Or I guess clearly reasonably. So that the matter clearly reasonably veneret came in dubium, into doubt. So the bees and the drones have such a similar body and color that it's clear that it's who made the honeycomb is in doubt. And it's a fair dinkum, as I'm sure Aussies would say. In real life, I'm sure. Said, ne religio pecet imprudens mea. Yeah, that's the subject. I'm pretty sure both of these are technically modifying that. So said means but. Ne is, it's kind of like not, but often works a bit differently. It works more specifically with the subjunctive. So that not, or you could have more fun with it and say lest. So lest religio. Religio means scrupulousness or conscientiousness, exactness honestly seems closest. And of course, it can be like piety because it looks like religion, but it's definitely not that here. I'm gonna say exact. Well, nah, I'm gonna go with scrupulousness. Peccet is the third person singular present active subjunctive from pecco. And it's a good thing that peccet is subjunctive when we got ne, and I was explaining that it's going with the subjunctive. But pecco means to sin or offend. Imprudens means unwise or imprudent or inadvertent. I think inadvertent, unintentional, even just foolish, unthinking. I'd say inadvertent works. And then mea means my. And of course, these three all agreeing in gender, number, and case. They're all nominative, and they're all feminine. So they all work. But lest my inadvertent scrupulousness, and I did see it corrected me there with my spelling, offends. So lest or so that my inadvertent scrupulousness does not offend. Alvos accipite et geris opus infundite. Alvos. Have we seen this? No, we haven't. So alvos is the accusative plural from alvus. Alvus means hive or beehive. I'm just going to say the hive. And accipite is the plural imperative. So for the imperative, you take the infinitive and take off the ending. So you have just the stem, which is what you add the ending to. At least, yeah, because this is the second principal part. You'd use this for usually present and imperfect tense. A lot of the forms that aren't in the perfect tense, and you add the ending to it. So like akebo, I will receive, but this is the imperative. So it means to receive. And to make it plural, there you go. Except not quite. I think it still becomes... Accipio was a bad example, honestly. Because though, yeah, it changes slightly. So accipe, but I guess they don't like accipite. So they do accipite for the plural. But anyways, it just means receive, basically ordering both parties, so that's why it's plural, to receive the hive, or hives, et, and keris is the dative or ablative plural from kera, which means wax. Oh, then why did I... For some reason I thought it was genitive. So it's not this. It does not modify opus. But opus is just the nominative... Actually, no, I guess it would be the accusative. It's probably also like fourth declension or maybe a weird third declension. Yep, it is the third declension. So it is not the subject. It is the object. Which makes sense considering infundite is also just imperative, so there would be no verb for opus to be the subject of. So wax opus means a work or art or skill or labor. Let's say, I'm just going to say work. And infundite, I already said it was the plural imperative from infundo, which means to pour in, or into, on. I guess it will be work pour into, cause receive the hives and pour work into carries the wax. Yes. Receive the hives and pour work into the wax. Basically, do the thing. Show that you can do the thing that you have claimed to. Ut ex sapore melis et forma favi. I think melis is modifying sapore. I'm trying to remember. But ut, we have ut. No verb. No. It goes to the next line. De quis nunc agitor auctor horum appareat. This is subjunctive. The ea ought to tip you off. So that ex from, and takes an ablative, sapore, from sapor, from the taste, melis. Yes, melis is the genitive singular form from mel, third declension noun, which means honey. What's the etymology of mel? Where is it supposed to be from? Proto-Italic, Proto-Indo-European, cognate with ancient Greek meli. Okay. I didn't even know that meli was Greek for honey. Neat. So that from the taste, genitive of, I guess, the honey, et and forma. You might be able to guess this is from formus. Or is it formos? It might just be forma. Nope, it is forma, because it is a noun. Yes, noun meaning form or figure or shape. It's form. It is feminine, first declension, so could be nominative or ablative. It's ablative, because we've got the nominative right here with auctor. And favi. We've seen this down a couple different times. Have we seen favi, though? Favos. Fawi. I don't think so. Yeah. I thought we had seen another favos at some point, but I'm probably just missing it. But fawi. Fawi, it's favus, so that's genitive singular, form of the honeycomb. De, which means it's a preposition taking the ablative either about or on the account of, but it can also be from. Quis, relative pronoun. And this is that the ablative? Quis, I know it's the nominative. Ah, right. It is at least a spelling for the dative or ablative plural. And it could be quis or quibus. And I'm assuming Phaedrus is using quis for the meter. Because you gotta do some weird things sometimes for the meter. So from, I guess, whom, nunc, conjunction meaning now, and agitor. Hold on. Let me make sure it is a conjunction and not an adverb. It's an adverb! Why do I always think that conjunctions are adverbs and adverbs are... Well, it's almost... Yeah, why do I keep thinking that some conjunctions are adverbs and some adverbs are conjunctions? Usually... No, it really is that I keep thinking that adverbs are conjunctions when they're not. That still looks like a box. There we go. That's a circle. Agitor, from ago, third person, present. It's indicative, but passive. The or tells you passive. So, from whom is done, because ago means to do or go. So it is done. Third person singular present passive indicative. Yeah, I'm going to say it. But we're going to be moving this around anyway. Autor. We saw this in the prologue of book 1. It could be the author or creator. Horum is the genitive plural form of hos, hic, hic, hoc. Just masculine and neuter, though, not feminine. So horum does agree with autor, because it's masculine. So the creator of these, appareat. Appareat you may be able to guess, because it looks like a similar verb in English. It is from appareo. I already said the whole thing, didn't I? Third person singular present active subjunctive from appareo, which means to appear or come into sight. Just appear. Appears because third person singular. So that from the taste of the honey and form of the honeycomb, from whom now it is done, creator of these appears. I guess, hold on. From whom now it is done, the creator of these appears. Of course, from whom now it is done sounds odd, but, oh, maybe made. From whom it is now not done, but made. And I guess, let's do it is now made. Yeah, I think it's still better to do so that from the taste of the honey and form of the honeycomb, the creator of these appears, from whom it is now made. Yeah, I think that order sounds better. Fuki, the drones, recusant. This is just the third person plural, present active indicative, and it's from recuso, so it could be to, like, recuse yourself, but it's generally to refuse or protest, or decline. The drones refuse. Apibus, dative or ablative plural from apis. Condicio. Condicio, well, I guess the bees. Condicio is just, that's the nominative, and it means the condition. So the condition, and placet, from placeo, it means like it to please, or really like kind of like to like, but it is literally pleasing to something else. That is why apibus is in the dative case, because it's literally saying the condition. I think it's perfect tense. No, it's present. Please it, or is pleasing to the bees. But you can also say the condition pleases the bees, because it's essentially just placeo takes the dative case. So in fact, really, I could mark apibus as the object of placeo, or placet. A lot of the time, I think we would also have condition be plural. The conditions please the bees. As in, like, the conditions set upon by the judge, the wasp. But I guess it was just really one condition. But you could also say the proposition pleases the bees. I think I'll go with that. Tunc illa talem protulit sententiam. So tunc, conjunction meaning then. Illa, that, really wasp, because it doesn't specifically say. This is just the demonstrative pronoun meaning that. So really, you could just say the wasp, but I'm just going to say that wasp. Talem, from talus, an adjective. It means such. Protulit, the third person singular perfect active indicative from profero, which means to bring forth or make known, or present. Presented. Sententiam. That's a noun from sententia, accusative singular. It could be the sentence or opinion. Or I guess you could just say judgment. Yeah, that works. Especially with, like, legal stuff. Then that wasp presented such a judgment. And, of course, such, it could be in terms of, like, so great, just such a thing. I'm just going to keep it as such. It's a little weird, but I'm just going to do it like that, yeah. I mean, it's usually in a positive tone, though. Talus is used in a positive tone. Such a... Yeah, I'm going to say great. Because, of course, Phaedrus likes this judgment. I mean, he's the one writing it. He thinks that the bees are in the right, so he'd better think this is right. Because apertum est quis non possit et quis feceret. Also, I think apertum is not the object. I think it's just a second declension neuter noun. Yep. So, apertum is just something like it's open or clear. Like a clear space, an open space. But I think really, because there's also est, it is clear. Quis, relative pronoun we've already seen. Who, non possit. Possit is the third person singular present active indicative from possum. Well, no, it isn't. Isn't it subjunctive? Yeah, it's a subjunctive, not the indicative. So, who... So then why is it subjunctive? What's the use of what's the subjunctive here? I guess it's not... They're not saying who is not able, but who would not be able because they didn't actually do the action. Et and quis who feceret, which we saw it before with... Where did it go? I know we saw a form of facio at some point. Oh, there it is. First line, fecerant. They're from the same verb. Feceret is the third person singular, either future perfect active indicative or third person singular perfect active indicative. Not the indicative, subjunctive. I think it's just the third person singular perfect active subjunctive, who would have made it. Or I guess done it? Yeah, who would have... Well, no, made it. Gonna keep consistent. So, yeah, because it's more... Not relative, but... I almost want to say up in the air. It's not up in the air, though. It's very certain. Just not definitive of an action having been done, but if the action had been done, this would have happened. Less defined, I suppose I could say. Which, yeah, fair. The drones not wanting to do the thing, while the bees wanted to do the thing, show that they could do the thing, that they could make the honeycombs. Yeah, that's very clear. Who would not be able to, and who would have made it. Qua propter apibus fructum restituo suum. So, qua propter is an adverb, and it could be why, but it could also be like wherefore, or kind of like because. But I'm going to say on which account, or on the account of which, on the account of which is what my brain would have immediately gone to. Opibus, already dative or ablative plural for the bees, and I'm going to say to the bees. Fructum could be either, is the accusative singular of fructus, which means the fruit or the produce, the product. It could also just be enjoyment or delight, but the product or produce? I want to do produce. Well, no, because that makes it sound like vegetables or fruit. Restituo. That's just the first person singular present active indicative. It means to restore. And since it's first person, I restore. I haven't done quotation marks this entire time. Hold on, I will do that in a second. Suum. We already saw suum. I can never find... There it is, suos. Just suum is the singular from suos. So suum, I guess there, on account of which I restore the product to the bees. I don't know why I keep doing best. Not the product, but their product to the bees. Okay, quotation marks. There we go. Lots of dialogue here. And now these two lines. This last sentence is what kind of throws me for a loop. Honk. Praeteresem fabulam. Really, honk goes here. Silentio. Si pactam fuci non recusasent fidem. I guess really it's like that. Yeah. Yeah. Except, I would say it might be more so. Not that, not that. But there and there. Okay. So, honk. We already saw honk before. This accusative as the object. Praeteresem. It is the first person, the M there, singular pluperfect active subjunctive. So I, that's the subject, I, subjunctive, would, pluperfect, have, and it's from praetereo, which means to just pass by, neglect, omit, disregard. I would have omitted honk, well, fabulam, fable, which of course, accusative, singular. Silentio. Silentio is an adverb. You could probably guess silently. I would have omitted this fable silently, or in silence. C, if pactam, perfect passive participle from, it could be from pongo, but which pongo means fastened or fixed, but it's really from pakiskor, which means arranged or agreed upon. So agreed fuki of the drone. Well, not of the drone. Drone. Is it dative? Oh, no. That's the subject. How did I miss that? I just completely, for some reason, assumed. There we go. Assumed that fuki was genitive and that this was the same person as praeteresem when it's not. The drones, not non, recusasent, from the same verb recuso as recusant, but it's pluperfect, the ase, third person plural. So had not refused fides, or fidem, from fides, which more commonly is faith or belief or trust, but it could also be a guarantee or promise, which I almost want to have it be agreement, but then I would want to change agreed with pactum. Probably arranged. Yeah. If the drones had not refused the arranged agreement. There we go. I would have omitted this fable silently if the drones had not refused the arranged agreement. Which, yeah, that kind of... it would have defeated the purpose of the fable and the moral. So I don't really know... it's like... it's almost like when people point out why characters don't just talk to each other to resolve the conflict, or why characters don't just do this one thing to resolve the conflict. It's because there would be no story. I don't know why Phaedrus feels the need to mention this. It's almost like it's something he just personally needed to point out. It's just really weird. The book that has translations of all of the fables that should be linked down in the description, it says... there is a note that says these last two lines are terse to the point of obscurity. The reference seems to be to some imitators of Phaedrus who refused a similar challenge to prove their authenticity. Which that would be really interesting. Especially because, at least from the Roman authors I have read, like Catullus and Martial and Horace, they are very vindictive to their critics. But I hadn't really seen anything about imitators. So I would love to see more Roman author takes on their own imitators. If this is a take on imitators of Phaedrus, which I almost kind of doubt. Well, I guess, I don't know. Because, like I said in the prologue, did I say it in the prologue? I should have said it in the prologue. There aren't that many Roman fabulists, especially from this time. Who was it? Was it Cato that we have a writing that said that there weren't really any Latin fabulists? So either that he means of note, no Latin fabulists of note, or there just weren't many, which Phaedrus would have been one of the few. In which case, there wouldn't have been many imitators to begin with. I feel like there are just too many unknowns to really say anything definitively about this. It's just odd. It just feels like a major oddity. The story itself is fine. Interesting for... actually, it's really interesting. It's a fun touch for... in the book about Greco-Roman, Greek and Latin fables, that author, who I do not remember the name of off the top of my head, does mention that this fable is a bit of an oddity, or anomaly, I think is the word that they use. And in the work Phaedrus the Fabulous, whose author I also do not remember the name of, they mentioned that there are several fables that use kind of court and legal proceedings. But I think it's interesting for this one specifically because it's eusocial insects that already have a clear social order. Bees and wasps, they have queens and they have social, like major social orders. So I think them having a court system would make the most sense among other animals. I guess not necessarily social orders, but like a social order more comparable to humans, I guess, with leaders and such. Of course, they don't actually have courts, but still, it's the most socially complex beings that I know of outside of humans. And that he chose them to have a lawsuit, a civil trial, you could say. But anyways, yeah, I think this fable is kind of weird. I enjoy the actual story. It's and the moral of you'd better be able to put up if you're trying to claim something that wasn't yours as yours is a good one. It's just these last two lines are weird and make me just it's weird. It just makes me want to know more about the context behind this fable and why Phaedrus actually chose it. Because he says why he didn't ignore it, but not why he specifically chose to write a fable on this topic. But anyways, let's move on to a Latin reading and an English reading. Apes in alta fecerant quercu favos, hos fuci inertes esse degebant suos, lis ad forum deducta est, vespe judice, quae, genus utrumque nos et cum pulcherrime, legum duabus hanc proposuit partibus, non in conveniens corpus, et par est color, indubium planer res ut merito venerit, sed ne religio pecet imprudens mea, alvos accipite, et geris opus infundite, ut exapore melis et forma favi, de quis nunc agitor, auctor horum appareat. Fuci recusant, apibus condicio placet, tuncula talem protulit sententiam. Apertum est quis non possit, et quis fecerit, qua propter apibus fructum restituo suum. Hanc praeterisem fabulam silentio si pactam fuci non recusassent fidem. The bees had made honeycombs in a high oak tree. The lazy drones were saying these were theirs. A lawsuit at the forum was brought to trial, with the wasp as judge, who, when it had become acquainted with both classes most rightly, it proposed this law to both parties. The body is not dissimilar, and the color is the same, so that the matter clearly reasonably came into doubt. But lest my inadvertent scrupulousness offends, receive the hives, and pour work into the wax, so that from the taste of the honey, and form of the honeycomb, the creator of these appears, from whom it is now made. The drones refuse. The proposition pleases the bees. Then that wasp presented such a great judgment. It is clear who would not be able and who would have made it, on the account of which I restore their product to the bees. I would have omitted this fable silently if the drones had not refused the arranged agreement. If you've made it to this point in the video, then thank you very much for watching. This is an interesting fable to me, but also rather memorable just because of those last two darn lines. I don't know, maybe it was supposed to be a joke. Like, when I was doing the English reading, I was like, this seems like it's supposed to be a kind of a joke, but I'm not sure. But it's really memorable because I found it while I was working on a different video, which has taken forever, which will eventually be a thing, I'm sure, hopefully. To give another hint as to what it is something else from a video game that may involve bees and wasps. But next time, we've got a very short fable. It's going to be very, very nice. So, until next time, remember to spay and neuter your pets, et valete viatores.